When we look at the next 6 weeks, there's a bunch of people who say, hey, Q4, that's when bull runs end. We saw that happen in 2017. Is your thought process that the bull run ends in Q4, or do we push into 2022 and kind of see a continuation of the bull run in the new year?
Obviously, we're going to have to see in terms of the activity and the metrics and the on-chain data and the derivatives, but I'm not in the camp that I think this thing just putters out in 6 weeks and then we go home and we see another 70% drawdown. I don't think that at all. I think in terms of adoption, we've kind of hit this threshold, this secular level of adoption at a nation state level, at an individual level, at a corporate level, institutional level. Bitcoin is much more accepted. In 2017, price had run up from $250 to $20K in 2 years. And so, we were very, very overheated, and I don't think we're really at that level at all. We're still, flirting with, the 64K all-time highs we hit earlier. The on-chain metrics are not overheated. And so, the longer we chop, the longer we consolidate, people may be getting, antsy, but that's actually really bullish. The longer we chop, the more this kind of sprint compresses and the farther we have to run, in my opinion. So I think, a bull market into 2022 is honestly my base case at this point.
And then when you look forward, there's obviously the Bitcoin futures ETF. Do you have any thoughts yet in terms of what we've seen so far with the futures ETF? I know that Barry Silbert and the Grayscale guys continue to tweet out every chance they get that GBTC is more closely tracking the price and outperforming the futures ETF with their trust. But any thoughts there just at a high level?
In terms of someone that's looking to gain exposure to Bitcoin, it's better than nothing. If I had money, trapped in some sort of retirement account or, as an institutional investor, I'd honestly be looking to allocate towards GBTC at something like a 10 or 15% discount in net asset value, even with a 2% fee, just because that kind of that rollover month over month with the futures ETF, you kind of bleed out against Bitcoin. But again, it is better than nothing. I think it's good for the kind of institutional adoption of the asset class. It gains, it allows for easier exposure and allocation, from these big money funds, not the average retail investor, but the institutions with trillions of dollars of capital to allocate. And so, I think it's just the first step. I think a spot ETF eventually comes, but in the meantime, Barry and the guys at Grayscale will be trolling a little bit as the competitors, get declined like Valkyrie just did.
And so the last thing I'll say is give us kind of a heat check on your friends, right? So we've now seen Bitcoin hit multiple all-time highs in the last couple of weeks. Do we have more friends that were not Bitcoin kind of knowledgeable or interested or invested in Bitcoin starting to hit you up and ask you about it? Or are they still kind of asleep at the wheel and they're not even caring about it?
I mean, I have definitely seen an increase, especially over the summer. I was talking about it a lot in 2020 and before that, and price runs up 600%, and it's obviously very enticing. And then price draws down a little bit, and maybe some people get a little bit scared, when you're buying at 60 and it goes down to 30. But I preach especially to people that aren't too in the weeds with financial markets or investing, and just like, hey man, this is a savings account, and you just want your Satoshi count, your Bitcoin count as high as possible. And so, passive DCA is honestly the way to go for most market participants. Just literally just accumulate savings in the best money ever. And I've definitely seen some sort of sentiment shift, especially as inflation is really hitting everybody. It's not something that's more of an idea. It's actually like hitting you at the grocery store. It's hitting you with rent, with at the gas pump. And so it's much easier to explain the Bitcoin features of, hey, you can't print this thing. And so in terms of just sentiment around friends, family, just people I talk to about investing into Bitcoin at scale, it's definitely, I think the conversation's changed from even just, 6 months ago.
And then before I let you go, tell us about the newsletter that you're writing. I've just dropped the link in the chat for anyone who wants to get it. You guys were kind enough to give a discounted link. So maybe just tell us kind of what you do, how often it comes out, et cetera.
I lead off content at the deep dive. And so the Bitcoin Magazine markets newsletter, we send daily stuff on-chain analytics, Bitcoin derivatives, and kind of the macro landscape in terms of how Bitcoin interplays with all of this. And so, there is a free and paid tier. We send emails daily to paid subscribers, but we send out free emails about once or twice or a few times a month. And so if you're just kind of looking for, more in-depth, analysis of the Bitcoin market, we provide that, and we think we do a pretty good job.